velocity, you have the electrons will have certain mobility. The expression for mobility is mu e is equal to Vd by P, where E is the applied electric field, Vd is the drift velocity, mu e is the mobility, or mu e is equal to Vd. So from equations 1 and 2, J is equal to Ne mu e, because J is equal to Ne is same, Vd can be replaced by mu e into E. This is equation 3. And from Ohm's law, Je is equal to sigma E into E. You take the screenshot of this. I have rearranged this one. Some unnecessary terms I have reduced. So according to Ohm's law, Je is equal to sigma E into E, where Je is the current density for electrons, sigma E is the conductivity of electron, E is the applied electric field. So if you compare these two equations, equation 3 and 4, you have a Je is equal to Ne mu E into E. Also Je is equal to sigma E into E. Therefore, you can write sigma E is equal to Ne mu E if you compare these two. Take the screenshot. So from equations 3 and 4, sigma E is equal to Ne mu E, or sigma is equal to Ne mu E. This is equation 6. Similarly, we can write for holes also. Current density for holes, Jp is equal to sigma P into E. Also, Jp is equal to Pe mu P into E, where P is the concentration of holes, mu P is the mobility. If you compare this, then sigma P is equal to Pe mu P. This is equation 8. So the total conductivity is the conductivity due to electrons and the conductivity due to holes. So it is a sum of these two. So sigma is equal to sigma E plus sigma P. Therefore, sigma is equal to sigma E is Ne mu E and sigma P is Pe mu P. From equations 6 and 8. We take the screenshot of this. Now I am proceeding further. For an intrinsic semiconductor, the number of electrons is equal to number of holes, which is Ni. So in this expression, the previous expression, here you write Ni, P also can be written as Ni. So Nie can be taken as common. So this is Ni into E into mu E plus mu P. The same I have written here. Sigma is equal to Ni into E mu E plus mu P. But the expression for concentration in intrinsic semiconductor is Ni is equal to C T to the power of 3 by 2 T to the power of minus Eg by 2 kT, where C is a constant, T is absolute temperature, Eg is energy gap, K is Boltzmann constant, and T is absolute temperature. So in this expression, in the above expression, instead of this Ni, you substitute this. Then sigma I is equal to instead of Ni, it is C T to the power of 3 by 2 to the power of minus Eg by 2 kT, then E into mu E plus mu P as it is. And also we know that the mobilities are inversely proportional to T to the power of minus 3 by 2. Or for electrons, mu E is equal to alpha T to the power of minus 3 by 2. For holes, mu P is equal to beta T to the power of minus 3 by 2. So in this expression, instead of mu E and mu P, you can substitute this. Then it can be written as, therefore mu E plus mu P is equal to alpha plus beta into T to the power of minus 3 by 2, or gamma into T to the power of minus 3 by 2, because alpha plus beta is equal to gamma. Therefore, sigma I is equal to, in this expression, it is a C to the power of 3 by 2 e to the power of minus Eg by 2 kT into E. Mu E plus mu P can be written as gamma T to the power of minus 3 by 2. Or sigma I is equal to C, this T to the power of 3 by 2, T to the power of minus 3 by 2 gets cancelled. Ce gamma e to the power of minus Eg by 2kT. Let B is equal to Ce gamma, then sigma I is equal to B e to the power of minus Eg by 2kT, equation 12. This actually represents the conductivity of an intrinsic semiconductor. Just to take the screenshot. Just I have rearranged it because yesterday morning I have observed some what it is repeated once or twice. So make it simple because you may get confused. For that, I have explained this once again. Take the screenshots. Now you take the heading Hall effect. Hall effect, and you take this diagram. HAL, Hall effect, and you take this diagram here. Please take the diagram. It's an N-type semiconductor. The current is flowing along the positive x direction. The electrons are moving along the x axis. I'll explain what actually Hall effect. But this you should draw this diagram also. Did you copy? Did you took the diagram? Anyone please respond?
Yes, sir.
Voice? Somebody respond voice. No one is there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So according to Hall effect, whenever a metal or a semiconductor carrying current is placed in a transverse magnetic field perpendicular to its length, an electric field is produced inside the conductor in a direction perpendicular to both the current and the magnetic field. This phenomena is called as Hall effect, and the generated voltage is called as the Hall voltage. So you take a semiconductor or metal, and you place this metal or semiconductor in a transverse magnetic field. That means perpendicular to its length. And once you see current is flowing through the semiconductor, it is placed in a transverse magnetic field, then some voltage is produced across the specimen. And this voltage is called as Hall voltage, and the phenomena is called as Hall effect. So whenever a magnetic field applied perpendicular to a current carrying conductor or semiconductor, voltage is developed across the specimen in a direction perpendicular to both the current and magnetic field. This phenomenon is called the Hall effect, and the voltage developed is called as Hall voltage. Just you write down this statement. when a metal or a semiconductor, when a metal or semiconductor carrying some current, carrying some current is placed in a transverse magnetic field, is placed in a transverse magnetic field, placed in a transverse magnetic field, in bracket you write down perpendicular to length. The field is applied perpendicular to the length of the semiconductor. That is transverse magnetic field. Transverse magnetic field perpendicular to length. An electric field is produced an electric field is produced inside the material, inside the material in a direction normal to, in a direction normal to both the current and magnetic field, in a direction normal to both the current and magnetic field. This phenomenon is known as the Hall effect. This phenomenon is known as the Hall effect. And the generated voltage is called as Hall voltage. And the generated voltage is called as Hall voltage. What is there in the PPT also you can take. When a magnetic field is applied perpendicular to a current carrying conductor or semiconductor, a voltage is developed across this prism in a direction perpendicular to both the current and magnetic field. This phenomenon is Hall effect, and the voltage developed is called as Hall voltage. So to explain this, let us consider an N-type semiconductor as shown in the figure. So the current flows from left to right, that is along positive x direction. Some current is already flowing through the material. So conventionally the electrons will be moving in the negative x direction. Now you apply a magnetic field along a perpendicular direction, along the z axis, whatever. So it's in which direction you are taking, that direction. So here the x-axis is taken in this direction. You should be very careful. So whenever a magnetic field is applied perpendicular to the direction, then what happens in the presence of the magnetic field, the electrons, conduction electrons acquire a velocity which is called as a drift velocity, and they experience a force of magnitude BeV along negative y direction. One minute, here small change is there. What is to change is one now. Okay. So consider a thin rectangular slab carrying current in x direction. If we place a magnetic field B which is in the y direction, we assume the magnetic field is applied in the y axis. Then the electrons acquire a velocity which is called as a drift velocity. Because of that, they acquire a force which is called as BeV, where B is applied magnetic field, E is the charge of electron, and V is the velocity. And because of this, a potential difference is produced, which is VH, and between the phases along this direction, like this. So let us assume the current is flowing along x-axis and the magnetic field is applied along the y-axis. Then a voltage is produced because the charges are accumulated in the opposite phases. Because of that, certain voltage is produced within the material, and this voltage, this is called as Hall voltage. So this voltage, whenever there is a motion of electrons, then what happens? Because of the potential difference, it causes a field EH in the material, and it is balanced by the force experienced because of the magnetic field. At equilibrium, these two forces are equal. When equilibrium is reached, the magnetic deflecting force on the charge carriers are balanced by the electric forces, because two forces are acting simultaneously on this. One is the current is flowing through the material, and another one is the magnetic field is applied. So at equilibrium, these two forces are equal. So the magnetic deflecting force on the charge carriers is balanced by the electric forces due to electric field. So because of the magnetic field, the force experienced is represented by VE into VD, and the electric force is represented by E into EH, where EH is the Hall field and VD is the drift velocity. And from this we can write EH is equal to B into V, because VE gets cancelled. If J is the current density, then you have to VD is equal to J by N, where J is the current density, VD is the drift velocity, N is the concentration of the charge carriers, P is the charge. So in equation 1, instead of this V, you can substitute J by N. So here it is, sorry, it is VBD. Let me see it here. So at equilibrium, the two forces, magnetic force and electric forces, are balanced. So EH is equal to DEVD, or EH is equal to B into VD, equation 1. If J represents the current density, then VD is equal to J by NE, is the expression, or EH is equal to B into VD can be written as J by NE, where N is the number of charge carriers per unit volume. Please note on this. Yes, that sentence also you write. When equilibrium is reached, the magnetic deflecting force on the charge carriers are balanced by the electric forces due to electric field. So that is once again I repeat this, when a metal or a semiconductor carrying current is placed in a transverse magnetic field, an electric field is produced inside the material in a direction normal to both the current and magnetic field. This phenomenon is called as Hall effect, and the generated voltage is called as Hall voltage. To understand this, let us consider an n-type semiconductor. So the current flows in x direction, and the magnetic field is applied along y direction, and in the presence of the magnetic field, the electrons acquire a velocity and experiences a force of magnitude BeV along negative z direction. This gives a certain potential difference. The potential difference is established from the top and bottom of the specimen, with the bottom face as negative, because all electrons will accumulate at the bottom of the specimen. This causes a field EH in the negative in the negative z direction, and because of that, a force EH, E into EH will act on the electron along the positive z direction. So along the negative z direction, because of the magnetic field, the force is BD. Along the positive x direction, because of the electric field, the force is given by E into EH. At the equilibrium, these forces are balanced. Magnetic deflecting force is balanced by the electric force. Therefore, EH is equal to BEBD. EE gets cancelled. You can write EH is equal to B into BD, where EH is the Hall field, B is the magnetic induction field, BD is the drift velocity, equation 1. If J is the current density along x-axis, then VD is equal to J by NE. This is the standard expression. Just now in the previous case also we have carrying conductivity, we have discussed this, where N is the number of charge carriers per unit volume, E is the charge, J is the current density. If you take the equations 1 and 2, then you can write EH is equal to Vj by Ne. This is the expression. Please note down this. Then Hall coefficient is defined as RH is equal to minus 1 by Ne, because the negative sign indicates that the electric field is along the negative z axis. So RH is equal to minus 1 by Ne. Therefore, EH is equal to, in the previous expression, you have EH is equal to Bj by Ne. So 1 by Ne can be written as minus RH. The same we did here. So EH is equal to minus B into RH into J, because RH is equal to minus 1 by Ne. Therefore, RH is equal to minus EH by Bj. This is equation 5. In case of a p-type semiconductor, that negative sign will not be there. RH is equal to EH by Bj, where EH is the Hall field, B is magnetic induction field, J is the current density, represented by equation 6. Is it clear, students? So because of the yes, because of the magnetic field, the electrons experiences a force in the negative z direction, represented by BeVd. So the balancing force is nothing but electrical force. It is represented by E into EH. Then only the electrons will not cross the material. So at equilibrium, these two are equal. Then you can write EH is equal to BVD, and the expression for current density in terms of lift velocity is Vd is equal to J by Ne. So if you substitute in equation 1, you can write EH is equal to Bj by Ne. And also the expression for a Hall coefficient is RH is equal, for an n-type semiconductor, RH is equal to minus 1 by Ne. So here instead of 1 by Ne, you can replace this expression as minus RH. That is, EH is equal to minus B RHJ, equation 4. RH is equal to minus EH by Bj. This is equation 5. So take a p-type semiconductor, then RH is equal to EH by Bj. So if VH be the Hall voltage in equilibrium, EH is the Hall field, and T is the thickness of the sample, then VH is equal to EH into T. V is equal to ED formula. D is the distance between the plates. Here we are assuming T is the thickness of the sample, then VH is equal to EH into T. But from the previous expression, EH is equal to BRHJ. Or VH is equal to, the negative sign is there, minus BRH J into T. Instead of EH, you should substitute BRH J. Here also should have negative sign. If B is the width of the sample, then current density J is equal to I by Bt. Therefore, BH is equal to minus BRH. J can be replaced with I by Bt, and T is there. So this T gets cancelled. So RH is equal to VHB by IB in magnitude. Negative sign can be neglected. Only it is a directional convention. In magnitude, you should neglect the negative sign. RH is equal to VHB by IB. So if you see this expression, in this I is the current. So you know the current value because already the current is passing through the conductor, and B is the magnetic induction because transverse magnetic field is applied, so you know the value of B. And small b is the width of the sample. You can measure the width of the sample, and only you should find VH. So VH is Hall voltage. The sample is initially the semiconductor is taken. Some current is allowed to pass through the material along x-axis. Some known magnetic field is applied. Then what will have to, a potential difference is produced. So once the potential is Hall voltage is produced, it can be measured with the help of a voltmeter. So VH can be measured. If you know the VH, then Hall coefficient RH is equal to VHB by IB. You know the value of current, you know the value of magnetic induction, and B value, width of the sample is also known value. VH you can measure, therefore you can calculate RH. So once you calculate RH, you know the expression RH is equal to 1 by Ne. E is the charge of the carrier, charge of the electron. So you know the value of RH, you know the charge of electron, you can calculate nRT. So the carrier concentration can be calculated by doing this experiment. So since all the three quantities EH, J and B are measurable, the Hall coefficient RH can be calculated, and from that the carrier density can be found. So in for N-type material, the Hall field is developed in negative direction compared to the field developed for a P-type material. Negative sign is used with the denoting Hall coefficient RH. So the applications of Hall effect, you can determine the type of a semiconductor, because with the negative sign or positive sign you can identify. If it is an N-type, you will be getting a negative sign, because all charge carriers will be accumulating at the bottom. So that is an N-type semiconductor. So like that you can measure determine P-type semiconductor also. So type of a semiconductor can be identified by this Hall effect, and also calculation of carrier concentration. RH is equal to 1 by Ne, or Rn is equal to 1 by E into RH. From that we can calculate determination of mobility. So mu is equal to sigma by Ne. You know the value of Ne. Sigma is the conductivity, so that you can calculate the mobility of the charge carrier, and also the magnetic flux density. B is equal to VHT by IRH. Expression is there. VH is Hall voltage, T is the thickness of the sample, I is the current, and the RH is the Hall coefficient. If you know these values, the magnetic flux density can be measured. So this Hall effect is a significant breakthrough in semiconducting technology. By this experiment, by this observation, you can identify whether the material is a P-type semiconductor or N-type semiconductor, and also you can calculate the Hall coefficient, carrier concentration, mobility, and magnetic flux density. Like that, there are many applications of this Hall effect. Once I explain this, listen this carefully. So when a magnetic field is applied perpendicular to a current carrying conductor or semiconductor, it is observed that some voltage is developed across the material in a direction perpendicular to both the current and magnetic field. This phenomenon is called as Hall effect, and the voltage developed is called as Hall voltage. So to understand this, let us consider a thin rectangular slab carrying current in the x direction. So let us consider an N-type semiconductor. It is like in the form of a thin rectangular slab. The current is passing along its direction. Let us assume a perpendicular magnetic field is applied along y direction. So whenever some magnetic field is given to an electron, because current is passing along positive x-axis, then the electrons will be moving in the negative x-axis. And when a magnetic field is applied perpendicular to the material, the electrons experiences a force because of the applied magnetic field. They acquire a velocity and they experience a force of magnitude V into E into V, Vd, where V is the magnetic induction, E is the charge, and Vd is the drift velocity. Because of that, a potential difference is established from the top to bottom of the specimen with the bottom face negative, because all negative charges accumulated in the negative side. So this causes a field EH in the negative Z direction. So a force of EH will act along positive Z direction, because to balance this, both the electric and magnetic fields are working simultaneously. So magnetic field is represented by BE, BD. Electric field is represented by E into EH, where EH is the Hall field, BD is the drift velocity. From this, you can E gets cancelled, EH is equal to B into VD. If J is the current density, then VD is equal to J by Ne. So if you substitute in equation 1, then EH is equal to Bj by Ne, where N is the number of charge carriers per unit volume, J is current density, B is magnetic induction, and E is the charge of the electron. And Hall coefficient is defined as RH is equal to minus 1 by Ne. So in this previous expression, 1 by Ne can be replaced with minus RH. The same we did here. So EH can be written as minus B into RH into J. This is equation 4. From this, RH is equal to minus EH by BJ. This is equation 5. If you take a p-type semiconductor, only its directional convention, RH is equal to EH by BJ. This is equation 6. If VH is the Hall voltage and EH is the Hall field, T is the thickness, then VH is equal to EH into T. And also you know that EH is equal to minus B into RH, just no previous expression. So instead of this EH in this above expression, you can substitute B into RH into J. So minus B RH J into T. If B is the width of the sample, then J is equal to I by BT because current density is current by area. B into T is nothing but area. Width and thickness, so it is area. So J is equal to I by BT. So VH is equal to minus B RH. J can be written as I by BT into T. So T3 gets cancelled. Finally, you can obtain RH is equal to BH by B by IP in magnitude. Negative sign can be neglected. In equation 7, three known values are kept. B, which is the width of the sample, small b, I, the current, which is a known value, B, capital B is the applied magnetic field. So you know the three values, and VH can be measured by doing this experiment. So a semiconductor is taken, current is allowed to pass through that, current value is known, it is subjected to a transverse magnetic field, the magnetic field value also is known, then some voltage is developed. The voltage can be measured with the help of a voltmeter, which is nothing but the Hall voltage. So once the Hall voltage is measured, then you can calculate RH by equation 7 because all the remaining values are known. So if RH is calculated, you know that RH is equal to 1 by Ne or 1 by Pe. So E is the charge of the carrier, electron or proton, and you can calculate the concentration, number of charge carriers present per unit volume. And the applications of Hall effect, we can identify the type of a semiconductor, whether it is a p-type semiconductor or n-type semiconductor, and the calculation of carrier concentration can be done, and the mobility of charge carriers can also be done, and measurement of magnetic flux density also can be done by using this experiment. Is it clear? Students, will you take
Yes,
a
sir.
screen? Will you take a screenshot? Did you copy this screenshot? Shall I give time?
Sir, we'll take a screenshot, sir.
Okay. One by one you take. First take this one, Hall effect. What actually the phenomenon? Shall I go for the next slide?
Sir.
Yes, you have copied this. Then you take this derivation, this part. Take the screenshot. Now this one. Shall I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Take this one. Here small t in the numerator and denominator gets cancelled. That should keep in mind. Take this one. These are the applications of fault field. In Friday session, we'll interact with those. The only interactive session will be here. You can ask your doubts in Unit 1, Unit 2. And here one more topic is there, that is PN junction diode, VA characteristics of PN junction diode. Already I have explained everything during the lab. So I will share this PPT as it is what actually I have explained what is a N-type semiconductor, P-type semiconductor, what is a PN junction diode, depletion region, and the forward bias arrangement, the reverse bias arrangement, and VA characteristics of a PN junction diode. So this I will anyhow I'll send this to you because already I have explained, and these are the applications of this diode. And small thermistor characteristics is there. Small topic within 2 or 3 minutes I'll complete this. Just if you read, you can understand. Only a small notes on thermistor. Basically, thermistor, it is a semiconductor or a special type of resistor whose resistance changes with temperature. So it's a temperature sensitive semiconducting material, and they are made up of metal oxides such as manganese, copper, cobalt, nickel, and single crystal semiconductors like silicon and germanium. So all these can act as a thermistor. So basically, thermistor is a semiconductor device which has most likely negative temperature coefficient of resistance. It is because when the temperature of the thermistor is low, its resistance is high. This is because the thermistor is made up of a material which will not conduct electricity at very low temperature. So as the temperature is low, the resistance will be high, and like that vice versa. The outer electrons are loosely bound to the atoms and are not free to flow through the thermistor. Because of that, the resistance is high at very low temperature. And the relation between resistance and temperature is delta R is equal to K into delta T, where delta R is change in the resistance, delta T is change in temperature, K is the first order temperature coefficient of resistance. So if you see the diagram, as the temperature increases, the resistance decreases exponentially. So these type of thermistors, these are called as negative temperature coefficient of resistance. For some thermistors, they have positive temperature coefficient of resistance. As the temperature increases, the resistance increases. So basing on the nature of the material and fabrication, the relation between the resistance and temperature is R is equal to A e power T by T, where R is the resistance, A and B are constants, and T is the absolute temperature. So the resistance of the thermistor decreases as the temperature increases. So again, thermistors are classified as positive thermistors and negative thermistors. If K is positive, that is first order temperature coefficient is positive, the resistance increases with increasing temperature, and the device is called positive temperature coefficient thermistor, PTC they are called as. If K is negative, then the resistance decreases with increasing temperature. As we increase the temperature, the resistance decreases based on the nature, availability of electrons in the outermost cell, how they behave according to the nature of the material. It acts as a negative thermistor or a positive thermistor. And this thermistor, this is called as a negative temperature coefficient thermistor. And these are generally used as temperature related sensors, these are thermistors. And these are few applications of these thermistors. Positive temperature coefficient thermistors and the negative temperature coefficient resistance. They have different applications. So basing on the application, thermistors, these can be fabricated. And only a short notes you should write. Please take the screenshot of this. Anyhow, I will share the PPT. If you want, you take the screenshot and you can prepare notes also. Tomorrow I will finalize this PPT. I will share the PPT initially. Then I will share the notes also for this band field of solids and semiconductors. Please take the screenshot. The symbol, the diagram, generally thermistors are looks like this is the diagram of a thermistor. It's like semiconductor having two terminals, like diode. Take this screenshot of this one. Take this one. I think many have joined for attendance. Previously the strength is 36 or 37. Can have joined. So in the today's session, because this is a very lengthy uh, chapter, semiconductors, in 3 hours I took, and today we have covered the concentration of electrons in conduction band, concentration of holes in valence band, the expression for conductivity for an intrinsic semiconductor. Then we have discussed the Hall effect and applications of Hall effect, thermistor. And PN junction diode already I have explained in the lab session, everything the theory behind that. And by reading this PPT, you can understand the diagrams, what actually P-type material, N-type material, and the characteristics of VI characteristics of PN junction diode, and the applications of PN junction diode also important. You prepare notes for that. I am not going to explain give the notes for this PN diode because already I have twice I have explained in the lab session. If you have any doubts, I can clarify regarding this PN junction diode. And tomorrow in my regular class from 12:20 to 1:20, I'll start dielectric materials. Only one topic is there. I'll give introduction and only types of polarization so that authentically I can say the syllabus is completed. And Friday I'll devote for doubts clarification. So you can interact. Something is there. Even you have to read everything. What actually you have to. We have doubts in this. You read and you ask me so that I'll try to clarify the doubts. So at this juncture I stop. I'll take the attendance for the this also. '61.